Now, This Week in Texoma.
Hi everybody, welcome to the program. Our guest today is Stacy Miller. He is a local author whose book is called The Last Stowaway, and it is a real-life adventure story that he lived, and we're going to talk in detail about this. Mr. Miller, it's nice to have you on the program today.
Thank you.
You know, your producer called me up, and I got a little, publicity blip about what the story was, and I read the quick summary of what the story was about, and I thought, oh my goodness, that is quite a story. Where I'm going to just to briefly let you know, he jumped on board the Queen Mary as a legitimate stowaway as a young man, thinking he was going to be on there for a relatively short jaunt, and instead it turned into a 39-day adventure that went a lot longer than possible, so that he ever thought was going to happen. So we're going to talk into a little greater detail, because that's not even all the adventure. How he got from point A to get on the ship is also quite an adventure too. So it's quite a fascinating story, and I think you'll enjoy that conversation that we have today, and probably be inspired to buy the book as well. Talk a little bit about your background. You live in Comanche now, right?
Right.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Chicagoland area. I was born in Louisiana, and when I was 8 years old, my mother divorced and remarried, and we moved to Chicagoland area, Lockport, Illinois. And that's where I grew up, and probably got my inspiration to make this trip.
Yeah.
And I moved around through the years. I've lived in Vegas for probably 13 years before I moved here.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved here, me and my wife. Here, this is where she's from.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big adventurous type, so that moving around is like kind of...
That's kind of in your blood and been that way for a
yeah.
while, right? Now, this story happened when you were 20, in your 20s, right? Early 20s?
Yeah, I went to Europe when I was 20, and after I turned 21 in Cannes, France, is where I spent my 21st birthday. And then we traveled, me and my buddy, we traveled a little bit farther until we got to live in Portugal, and I ran out of money, and that's how this whole trip started.
Now, we're going to get to the details of that. You kind of skipped over the long jaunt to get across Europe to get all the way up to Portugal. But my question is that I'm kind of looking at here is that this story happened whenever you were 20, 21 years old.
Right, yeah.
You're a little older than 21 now.
Yeah, 66 now.
Which means that it took about 45 years to decide that, this might turn into a book. How did that process happen for you? I mean, had that ever percolated in your eye at all, that you thought this might be something that I would turn into a story that other people might want to read?
Yeah, there's quite a few people. Well, when I was younger, whenever my friends would introduce me to somebody, they would say, this is Stacy Miller, the last stowaway after Queen Mary.
Mm-hmm.
And of course that led to a longer conversation and went on and on. So I got to the point where I was thinking, maybe I should just write a book so I don't have to go through this all the time. And that's what happened. But I was putting it together little by little over the years, and you never really think anybody's going to care to read a story about what you do.
Right.
And then, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, I says, well, I'm going to put it together and see if I can get it published. So it took me about 5 years before I finally got it all together. And took a year for the publisher from the time they accepted it till the time they published it.
Mm-hmm.
Took me 2 years to edit it. And so it was about 5 years.
Yeah.
Like you said, it was 40 years.
In the making. Did you have any formal writing training?
No, I wish I would have. As a matter of fact, in high school, English was my worst subject.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I had, like I said, it took a long time to put together. The editing was the biggest part. And,
did you have anybody that you could turn to help you out with that? Because I would imagine that would be quite a challenging thing to do, to look at what you're writing and go, well, how do I cut that part out and what do I leave in, especially if you've never, this is the first time you've ever put anything like this together.
Yeah, my sister-in-law, her son married this girl, Sophia. She's from Finland. And she's like a perfectionist, everything's
Mm-hmm.
got to be perfect. So she's the one that actually helped me with editing,
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, when the publisher takes over, they have their own editing department.
Mm-hmm.
But Sophia Willman, she's the one who put the icing on the cake.
Now, when you wrote this book, did you have a full-time job at the same time, or did you have the ability to devote most of your work day writing on the story?
I said, I started so long ago that I used to, well, I was a field service engineer, so I flew all over the United States, you know, working on my job. And most of this got put down on paper in the air while I was flying. So, and as time went on, I'm with the different jobs, I spent my time, I had a lot of time to devote to it. But the last 5 years that it took me to finally get it in print, I've been retired, so I had all the time I wanted with it.
How'd you find the publisher?
Actually, my sister-in-law led me on to him, Tate Publishing. And
was it a hard sell? I mean, do you call that guy up and go, hey, this is my story? I mean, how does that process work whenever you go, I've got a great story? Because I'm imagining publishing companies probably hear that story quite a bit, and some of those stories don't quite cut it, right?
Tate's kind of a different type of publisher, you know. They want you to have what do you call it, a publicist, you know. And if you don't have one, well, then you go through them to acquire one. And they go by merit if they think the book will sell and stuff, you know, just like any publisher. But they took it on, and that was, we went from there.
Were you happy with it whenever you finally got it back and you saw it in print and you flipped through it? Did you like it, or were...
Yeah, I like the book. I like the way it's set out. I like the way it reads. They did a good job on that. It's, you know, for a true life adventure, it's a pretty good story.
We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to go into detail about this true life adventure. The name of the book is called The Last Stowaway. The author is Stacy Miller. You can get this book at Barnes & Noble and Amazon. And Hastings, I think, also has it, right?
Should be most of the bookstores, yeah.
All right. We'll talk a little bit more about the story with the author in just a minute. Stay with us.
If you have a topic or issue you'd like us to focus on, please write to the address on your screen or fax us at 357-3811. Or you can email us.